Welcome to the Jewelry Resellers Podcast, your go-to source for all things shiny, sparkly, and of course, profitable. I'm your host, Desiree, and I'll be your guide on this dazzling journey through the world of reselling jewelry. We'll be diving deep into the art and science of reselling, uncovering valuable tips, insider secrets, and sharing stories from successful jewelry resellers. We'll explore market trends, industry news, and even discuss how to find those hidden gems just waiting to be discovered in thrift stores, estate sales, and beyond. So if you're dreaming of turning your hobby into a hustle, or if you're a seasoned pro looking to stay at the top of your jewelry reselling game, join me each week for insights, stories, and more on the Jewelry Resellers Podcast. Welcome to another episode of the Jewelry Resellers Podcast. I can't wait to get into today's topic. We are going to be talking about mob wife aesthetic as it relates to jewelry. There's a couple of articles I want to share, and I did a little bit of research, so we are definitely going to figure out what this is all about, what this means, and how we can learn how to apply this trend as we're outsourcing for jewelry. You know, I really like to bring you news articles and talk about things that are trending, because that way we know what our customers could be looking for, or we know what is popular. And if we see a piece out somewhere, we know whether or not we want to grab it. And we also know what is, I guess we can say, what type of looks are people really trying to create as it relates to this whole mob wife aesthetic. And I just love the name. So if this is your first time catching one of the episodes of the Jewelry Resellers Podcast, I do want to invite you to sign up for our newsletter, because if you do, I am going to give you my personal list of the 20 best-selling vintage brands that all resellers should know. So when you're outsourcing, you will have a good idea of which brands to look out for, and you can do some further research so you learn to recognize these brands when you're out thrifting or at an estate sale or at a yard sale or wherever. So you can find that list on my website, which is jewelryresellerspodcast.com. All right, let's get into this article. Now, I had to do a little bit of research because I stumbled across the term mob wife aesthetic when I was on TikTok. And I have to admit, I probably spend way more time on TikTok than I care to admit. However, it does kind of keep me in the know, especially as a jewelry reseller. So when I come across something that is popular, something that is trending, I want to make sure I share it here, because I know as jewelry resellers, sometimes there's not a whole lot of information out there as it relates to our product, our inventory, and sourcing, and all those things. So I found an article. This was just published in Harper's Bazaar today, the day that I am recording this. And it starts off by saying Francis Ford Coppola, he posted on Instagram last week that the mob wife aesthetic, quote unquote, is making a comeback. So it looks like this started on January 6th when a TikToker named Kayla Trivieri shared a video declaring clean girl is out, mob wife era is in. And I haven't seen the video, which I probably should have watched it before recording this, but it really is something that seems to be encouraging animal prints, flashy jewelry, big fur coats, and trendy pieces that are pulled from movies such as Goodfellas. And also, I need to throw this in there too. This year marks the 25th anniversary of The Sopranos. Remember that show way back when? I can't believe it's been 25 years, but that was one of my favorite shows, along with Sex and the City back in those HBO days. And so the 25th anniversary of the show is now. And so it looks like the re-release of the show has sparked a new trend where women want to dress like mob wives. So I guess I should probably clarify and say, TikTok didn't start this trend, but it kind of got I guess, reintroduced or reawakened because of TikTok. So I guess this girl's video went viral, and apparently, because I guess she's so young, she had no idea about the HBO series. She didn't know what it was. And so, maybe she saw The Godfather. I don't know. But apparently she didn't know anything about The Sopranos, which, like I said, was one of my favorite shows. So now this is interesting because remember, all of last year, it was about the minimal clean girl aesthetic. It was about the very dainty, very simple look as it relates to fashion and jewelry. Very simple makeup, very slicked back hair. So it wasn't like a whole lot of in your face, bold, bright, very noticeable, I guess, appearances as it relates to your look, your jewelry, your fashion, your accessories, and all the things. But now this is really what people are kind of moving towards as it relates to another popular jewelry trend. Now, let me see. There's some great photos in this article. So like I said, I will link it. But the TikToker, the young girl, she says this is all about an energy, an aura. It's about being very forward and bold. It's saying goodbye to minimalism, or in the article it says basta, and I don't know what that means. So you're saying goodbye to minimalism and the boring like monochromatic beige that was so popular not that long ago. And now everything is about big, bold, powerful, noticeable, and being seen. So what does all of this mean as it relates to us as jewelry resellers? Because a lot of people will probably try to recreate this look themselves. And I think that because we're now knowledgeable about this and what the look is, we can start curating pieces, and we can start maybe styling some collections and outfits to help our buyers find the pieces that will definitely enhance their look. I guess that's a great way to put it. Now, the article goes on to say the popular Instagram account, and I'm not sure how to pronounce it. It's SCIURA Glam, which documents stylish, older Italian women, is another source of inspiration for this young TikTok girl as well. I guess the woman who runs the account is an elderly lady from the city center of Milan. They remind her of Nana, she says. That's what I aspire to dress like every day. Italian women are always so put together whenever they go out, but they always have fun with patterns, prints, and colors. Now, I'm really excited about this trend because I have always loved big, bold, chunky jewelry. But I've never felt, I guess, confident enough to really wear it because that's really not my lifestyle. And I don't have the wardrobe to really pull that off, at least not in my opinion. But when I also did some more research as it relates to mob wife aesthetic jewelry, this is what I found. The term mob wife aesthetic jewelry refers to jewelry pieces that are often associated with the fashion preferences and lifestyles of characters commonly depicted in pop culture as mob wives or women associated with organized crime figures. This aesthetic is inspired by the glamorous and ostentatious style often portrayed in movies, TV shows, or real-life accounts related to mafia culture. So basically, that's kind of, in a nutshell, what the Harper's Bazaar article was saying, and that now we are really moving from the minimalist style to a much more, I guess, overboard, over the top style. Now, let's go on and talk about some of the key features of mob wife aesthetic jewelry. Number one is bold and opulent designs. Jewelry pieces are often characterized by bold and lavish designs featuring large gemstones, intricate details, and elaborate settings. Definitely, I totally see this as it relates to the mob wife style. Number two is luxurious metals. Precious metals like gold and platinum are commonly used, and gemstones such as diamonds, emeralds, and rubies are favored for their luxurious appeal. Now, the next point is all about statement pieces. I think this is pretty much a given. Of course, any mob wife will definitely have a statement piece or two or several in her collection. Mob wife aesthetic jewelry tends to include statement pieces that are attention grabbing and again make a bold impact. This can include oversized rings, chunky bracelets, and layered necklaces. Now, I know when I think about this, the words gaudy are coming to mind, but I feel like this is probably a much more sophisticated gaudy style, if we can even still call it gaudy. All right, so the next point on here is vintage and retro influences. Styles often draw inspiration from vintage and retro jewelry trends, reflecting the opulence associated with earlier decades. Now, that is really interesting too, because I do believe that we will be seeing a lot more of this. It's going to be more mob wife aesthetic jewelry with pieces that are made, new pieces that are made to look old, or, taking influence or inspiration from older decades, pretty much like what this point says. All right, the next point is logo and symbolism. Some jewelry pieces may feature symbols associated with organized crime, like certain animals or iconography. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Adding a sense of identity and affiliation. Yes, so I do recognize that definitely would be something where, there are certain groups or things where there could be memberships, and maybe some of this jewelry will definitely reflect that. Now, the other point to remember about the mob wife aesthetic jewelry is also customization, and I think this is a big one. Custom design and personalized pieces may be prevalent, emphasizing exclusivity and individuality. I remember a few years back, there was a lady when I went to an estate sale. Now, she wasn't selling anything, but she was there. And I don't know if she was there to buy jewelry, but she had on a lot of this mob wife style jewelry. She had rings on every finger. She had maybe 5 or 6 necklaces on. Her nails were manicured. She had a fur type coat. I don't know if it was real or not, probably was. But I also noticed that she had a lot of monogrammed things. Like she had a monogrammed handbag. She had a pendant on her. One of the pendants on her necklace was also monogrammed. And I said, wow, that's just really interesting, because obviously it means something to her. I don't know if it was a name or maybe her children, who knows. But she really kind of embodied what we're explaining and what we're talking about here as it relates to the mob wife aesthetic. Now, I don't think she was a mob wife, but who knows? But I totally have a picture of what woman would wear this style and how they would wear these pieces and what type of, lifestyle she's living to be able to wear these pieces. Because, someone like me who, I don't wear that much jewelry, but I don't know if I'd be able to wear rings on every finger and tons of necklaces and all this stuff, because my, day-to-day life, I don't know if that would be practical. But then again, who cares about practicality, right? As long as you're being noticed and you're being seen. And maybe that's the whole point. It takes a certain amount of confidence and boldness and courage to really wear these pieces and not care about what other people may think or how you're going to be judged. So there's a whole sophistication as it relates to, I think, your self-awareness when it comes to being able to pull off the mob wife aesthetic. All right, so the final point is certain brands, high-end brands, may be associated with high-end and designer brands known for their extravagant and luxurious creations. So it's important to note that the term mob wife aesthetic jewelry is more of a cultural and stylistic concept rather than a specific genre or category in the jewelry industry. Yes, we understand this, right? So this is a new trend. This is a style. This is a concept. This is not an actual specific category as it relates to jewelry. Now, people may use this term to describe a particular type of jewelry that embodies the glamorous and ostentatious style, like we talked about earlier. And the aesthetic is largely influenced by media portrayals and may vary in interpretation and style among individuals. So, after doing all of this research, all I have to say is I think this is a really fun trend and a fun style, and I am all for it. Now, like I said earlier, this is probably not something I can pull off. At least I don't think so, but I've never tried. I'm sure that if I got the right look together, I probably could do it. But again, it's not something that I would wear day to day. But remember your buyers. Remember, there's going to be people out there who are looking for pieces like this. And it may not necessarily be the whole ensemble. Maybe somebody wants the mob wife aesthetic jewelry piece. Maybe they just want a ring. Maybe they just want a bracelet. And so I think we can be really, really creative as we're promoting our inventory, as we're marketing our inventory, as we are adding keywords to our listings and our descriptions as it relates to the mob wife aesthetic. So if you're curious about what this whole look or what this whole trend is all about, I definitely invite you to go to TikTok and just type it in the search and see what comes up. And who knows, maybe now it's even on Instagram or something like that too. But like I said, I'm really excited about this. I just think this is so fun, and this is so it's just so different and refreshing from what we've been seeing in seasons past as it relates to jewelry trends. Everything has always been so minimalist and understated and very simple and much more classic. So this is going to be something where I think we can have a lot of fun, and we can really do our buyers and our customers and our clients a service by learning about these trends and maybe, like I said, curating a collection and figuring out ways to style these pieces if we either currently have them in our inventory or while we are outsourcing looking for anything. So that is what I've got for you in this episode as it relates to the mob wife aesthetic or the mob wife jewelry aesthetic. What do you think? Do you think this is going to be a trend that just gets bigger and bigger? Or do you think this will be something that doesn't last very long? Do you think that maybe jewelry designers will even capitalize on this trend now? I have a feeling they will, and I won't be surprised if we start seeing some of these bold, chunky pieces on the runway in spring and fall. Now, if you didn't listen to the episode where I talked about some of the fashion trends or the vintage jewelry trends for 2024, I did mention that the big, bold, gold tone, chunky jewelry is making a comeback. And I think this will probably just continue to be the case, at least for now. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I can't wait to read your comments, get your feedback on this. And if you have any questions, please drop them in the chat or in the comment section, depending on where you're watching or listening to this. And I want to thank you so much for spending this time with me. Don't forget to sign up for the newsletter so I can send you my 20 best-selling vintage jewelry brands that all resellers should know. All right, I'll check in with you again really soon.